Hello and welcome to the first episode of Dyslexic Book Review. If you watched my first video of the year, linked here, then you will know that one of my goals for this year is to read 5 books, because I don't read, because my dyslexia means I hate reading, because every time I read a sentence, I have to read it once to understand what the words are, and then read it again for context. So I've got to read everything twice. But despite that, it is now January the 19th, and a couple of days ago I finished my first book of the year. That book is The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. Yeah, I said it right. It's a book about finance and more personal finance and the rules that we should all follow to, I don't want to say become more wealthy, but be more in charge of our money. The book is really well done. This book was written back in the 1920s by George, and it's been kind of reprinted because back then it was a selection of pamphlets that were given to banks and insurance brokers to give out. So it's basically broken up into different stories that George wrote about Babylon, the richest city of ancient history. Babylon was roughly 8,000 years ago. It was meant to be the richest city with high walls and much wealth because everybody wanted to be there, and they had mastered irrigation, which is massive back in those days for farming, etc. But yes, so as a dyslexic, how did I find this book? It's only around 200 pages of actual kind of literature. But I actually found it a lot easier than I would a standard book to read, because a lot of it's kind of ye olde English kind of writing style, which for me is a lot easier because it's broken down into short kind of 3-word statements. Each sentence is split up 2 to 5 times, which makes the reading and rereading, as I said before, a lot easier. So the flow is a lot easier. I mean, I struggle with mainly spelling and reading, but I do have a great kind of word knowledge and vocabulary. So I'm not struggling with any of the odd words or anything like that. I think there was probably only 1 or 2 words that I stumbled on. I think it took me about three times of reading the word Phoenician before realising what it meant. I got there in the end. But no, it's actually really easy for me personally to read. The typeface is fairly large and easy to get by. And I think it's a really good book. I think it's a really good book for anybody that has not looked into personal finance or doesn't really seem interested in it, knows that they should be, but isn't because it's finance and it's boring. This was the stories written in this are written as if they were back in Babylon. So there's slave trade, there's talk about war, there's talk about famine, and it's really gripping, and you get to know the characters and kind of feel for them and want them to do better. I'm just going to quickly talk about a couple of bits in the book, not to spoil anything. Start off with my favourite chapter. My favourite chapter is The Camel Trader of Babylon. It's basically a story about how be who you want to be. If you have the willpower, you can do it. And the chapter ends off with the statement, where the determination is, the way can be found. So if you've got the drive to do it, you'll get there. Which I think is great for anybody that's struggling or trying to do more, trying to better themselves, better their life. A couple of the other snippets at the end of the chapters that I particularly liked. Men of action are favoured by the goddess of luck. So luck isn't something that just comes to us. We've got to create the situations that bring luck towards us. And Otherwise, luck will not come. Another one is part of all you earn is yours to keep. So the main thing that this book tells you to do is to pay yourself first, which is put 10% of everything you earn into savings or into investments, into away from where you can spend it. Put it in the stock market, put it in invest in companies, put it into more investments, invest in yourself, but don't waste it. Pay yourself first. Add a tax to what you earn for yourself. We pay tax, so why can't we pay ourselves tax? So you get your paycheck, tax is already taken out of it, if you're in England at least. Then pay yourself 10% minimum, 10% minimum away, straight away as soon as you get the money in. Then you live off the rest. If you can save more than 10%, do that. But if not, make sure you've got that 10%. And the compounding interest and the growth of it means you're basically printing money. Not in this book, don't leave it in just a crappy 0.005% savings account, because that doesn't work. I'll get into different options in another video. But honestly, if you're worrying about money, or if you don't know where your money's going, or if you just want to read about kind of just fun stories about Babylon, then I would highly suggest picking up this book. But that brings me on to the next book that I'll be reading. As my my order from Amazon hasn't shown up in time to read The Intelligent Investor, I have procured Surrounded by Idiots, which is more of a psychology book. The 4 types of human behaviour, or how to understand those who can't be understood. So let's give this a go and see how it goes. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, if you're dyslexic like me and you fucking hate reading, then just try and find something that you're passionate about, that you want to learn more in, and just take it a step at a time. All I did with this was I went, I'm going to read 10 pages a day, and I ended up enjoying it so much that I read a chapter a day, and I finished it in probably a week and a half, 2 weeks. Also, quick tip, when you're reading, what I do is I just put on lo-fi hip-hop in the background. Have a good week.